Hello, visionary, and welcome back to our channel. This is Raquel Reina, Unleash Your Genius. And in this video, we are going to be talking about the conspiracy theories of the pandemic. I will see you on the inside. So it's gone to the point where I cannot keep my mouth shut anymore about this topic. It is a complex time in history, and I believe we need to chat about what's going on. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the conspiracy. I'm going to be talking about censorship, why we're having so many conspiracy theories at this time, what it all means, and what your role is in this time. First off, I want to talk about reason why we have so many conspiracy theories going on. I think, in my humble opinion, is because people are not fully trusting the news. Well, that's one reason. The other reason is that there's a field of not knowing. And in the field of not knowing, the mind needs to have an answer. And so we're looking for answers rather than getting comfortable in the mystery of not knowing. And so we're seeking answers in people that are providing them, whether they actually have the facts or not. But here's the problem. There's an alternative narrative going on. And this is really important because when the media, which is controlled by four big corporations, decides what should be aired and what shouldn't be aired, we have a biased agenda in our news. So we're not able to fully trust the stories. And when people come out with a different narrative, they should be allowed to speak that narrative. However, the problem is some people are saying that these narratives are dangerous. And so where does that leave us? Well, it leaves us confused as a collective and questioning, and that's a good thing. We should be questioning. We should be questioning without our emotion. And we should be able to listen to various different points of view while leaving our agenda on the back burner and leaving our needed confirmation of our beliefs to also be on the back burner. So what does that mean? Well, there are so many juicy topics here that are going on that we're going to dive into. The most important thing that I would like to be able to get to today is to create curiosity and create an open mind. Because right now we're seeing things like the pandemic documentary. We're seeing things in regards to how the virus was created. We're seeing things whether the 5G towers have any impact on our health. And we're also seeing the agenda around the vaccines. And on top of that, we're also seeing the right-wing agenda and the left-wing agenda. So if you look at The Great Hack, I think that's a really good place to start. It's a Netflix documentary. What that shows is the Cambridge Analytica strategies for manipulating the public into voting for Trump and Brexit. Those were the two major things they worked on. They found people that they could change their mind, and then they started bombarding them with propaganda. And a lot of that propaganda wasn't true. Some of it may have been, but a lot of it wasn't, and it swayed people to one side or the other. So this is really important to understand that all of our information is available through through Facebook and through Google, what our bias are, what our opinions are, how many likes we have based on this, based on that. We are now targets for agenda in general. That's the right agenda, the left agenda, that's the vaccine agenda, whatever it is. If we live in a world that is greed and agenda driven, where they need to influence people, then we're going to see that happening in our social media, in our videos, in our YouTube feed. All of this is to manipulate the vote or the dollar of the general population. I think it's really important to talk about this so that we can have a more objective view on what's going on. The only way to do this is to remove yourself and take away the emotion the best you can. Now, if you know anything about our work, my partner and I, we're both human design guides, and we study the uniqueness of each person based on their aura type. We see how different people operate on the planet based on their DNA genetic blueprint. And some people are designed to be emotional and some people are designed not to be emotional. So I'm not telling you how to feel, because we're all unique and we all have emotions, unique ways of operating in this way. But what I am going to do is tell you that if you're stuck on an opinion or you're stuck on a position, then normally what's going to happen is you can't hear the opposing point of view. And if you can't listen to the opposing point of view, there's something very wrong with your own personal need to be right. When you look at the conspiracy theories, an easy thing to do is slap the title conspiracy theorist onto anyone who has a dissenting opinion. And as we've seen on YouTube, people are now being censored if they have an opposing opinion. This is very dangerous, people. Free speech is a really important human right. And if we cannot have a dissenting opinion, we will be controlled. And the whole point of being human on the planet right now is that we have various different stages of evolution. When we're in different stages of evolution, we see things in different perceptions and different ways. I think that one of the most important things that we can be doing right now is looking at this through the lens of spiral dynamics, being able to see where your own mindset and belief systems are keeping you stuck in an agenda. So in other words, if you look at people who are very religious, you cannot come at them from a different type of philosophy. You have to be able to be non-judgmental and speak to them in their language and speak to them as though you understand where they're coming from. Because if you're judging these people as not being in reality, if you're an atheist and you don't believe in religion, then the first thing you're going to do is start making fun of people who are religious. You see this with Religiosity, that documentary that what's-his-face made. What's his name? Shoot, I'm going to have to Google it. You know who I'm talking about, Religiosity, by Bill Maher, or Bill Maher. He just makes fun of people who believe in religion. Well, that's not going to help anything. And that keeps him stuck in his own agenda. And according to spiral dynamics, it keeps him stuck in his level. In order to evolve, you have to come at it from a non-judgmental perspective. So you have to be able to listen to things. So if you're really triggered by people wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, and you can't see the other perspective, all of our power is dismantled, because we're fighting against each other rather than coming together as a collective. So right now we see a lot of dissension. We see a lot of people very emotional. First, we were so emotional about Trump and the right and the left, and now we're so emotional about vaccines, and it's either you're for them or you're against them, which is really not true. I'm seeing that a lot of people, when it comes to the vaccines, are simply asking for efficacy, which means that these companies need to be held responsible if they're negligent, like any other company. And that has not happened since the 80s. And there are different laws that were passed protecting the vaccine companies. And the reason for this is because the vaccines companies are saying that there are people who will be injured. That's part of the process. That's how we learn. And I sort of understand that to a certain degree, but it's the negligence. If they can't be held responsible for their negligence, then we have a slippery slope. And when you're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies and how much money they're going to get when everybody needs to be vaccinated in order before you can even come out into the public, that's controlling by fear. We need to know that the vaccines are safe, that these companies are being held responsible if they do something negligent and they're not greed-driven. A lot of people people who are fighting for vaccines, they're fighting for a healthy vaccine. They're fighting to have a little bit of say over what goes into the vaccine. But unfortunately, if anyone brings up anything about vaccines, they're immediately slapped as an anti-vaxxer and totally insane and crazy, and they are hated. And I mean seriously hated. I've had families delete me from their lives because I mentioned something about health of vaccines, literally. You can't hear opposing views on where you stand with something. You are in a very unhealthy stance, meaning if you can't even hear the argument, that means you've been bombarded with propaganda to create a us and them, to create a dissension, and to keep us weak as a whole. It's that simple, people. The point is we need to be able to hear what other people are saying so we can think for ourselves. We can take our power back into our own hands and make decisions about our own health, make decisions about our own body. It's very important right now that we notice that the fear is taking away our civil liberty, and the fear is making us not think straight. Bijou's growling. As you know, Bijou's a big part of all of our videos. So let's talk about these conspiracy theories. Do they have any leg to stand on? Well, let's start with the Out of the Shadows. And that was a documentary that was on YouTube, and they're talking about the Hollywood pedophile rings and all of that. I've done a ton of research on this, and what you need to understand is that Jeffrey Epstein, regardless of whether we know whether he killed himself or not, we do know that he was a pedophile. And we do know that people went on his friggin' plane and went to his island that was nicknamed the Pedophile Island, and they went there. Okay, think about that for a minute. Anybody who knew that this man was a pedophile and went to his island on his private plane, whether you had sex with young girls or not, there is something seriously wrong with you. And there are a lot of people that were not held to justice for this particular crime. Let's be honest that there is something that happened there. But guess what? The minute someone talks about Pizzagate, they are total lunatic. If you mention Pizzagate, you are discredited and you are made to be a total fool because they made it into the biggest joke. I personally believe that there's some truth to that. Of all the research I did on all the emails and everything that was said, they had all these codes. Obviously, Jeffrey Epstein, look how rich he was. You know, that is not a normal lifestyle for somebody who's supposedly a financial advisor, whatever his career said he was. Some people say he was blackmailing people and that's how he made all his money and whatever. Who knows exactly all of that, but we do know there was a problem there. Tons of victims who have said that he was not the only one, that they were sold, had to go British royalty to very famous people and service these people. Okay, that is absolutely a fact that is available now on any normal news station. And yet when people were talking about this before and they called it Pizzagate, they were conspiracy theorists and they were lunatics. So look at that. When people are trying to suppress information, they make you, they discredit you, and they call you a lunatic and a stupid conspiracy theorist. So if you cannot hear all of the information and look at the facts, then there's a problem. But what the bigger problem is that those people that are trying to hide the facts, those people who are trying to purposefully create confusion so that the truth is not revealed, it will definitely make it harder for all of us to understand what is going on. This is why in this video, the most important thing I want to do is create the ability in people to question their beliefs, question what they're looking at, question the mainstream media, question all of the information without going nuts and without all of a sudden becoming fanatic, and also without emotional charge, so that you can rationally look at all of the facts. So one of the other conspiracies going on is the David Icke stuff. He is someone I have listened to for a very long time, simply because I actually find him very entertaining. Regardless, he is kind of Well, I'm not going to judge him at all, but he does say some things that he's never proven as far as the reptilians and we're ruled by reptile, or that's part of the cabal. He thinks that this whole thing is a hoax and that the agenda is to control. I am not saying he's right. He doesn't have any facts to base what he's saying. He has some facts. So what happens is he has some facts of things that are interesting. There was a trial pandemic run, and all of this is documented. And so that's kind of an interesting thing to note, but it's mixed in with a lot of confusing ideas. He goes back and forth on some of the facts. Point is his position dangerous and should he be censored? So a lot of his videos are taken down from YouTube, and YouTube has a lot of power right now. Facebook, YouTube, they have a lot of power to decide what should be heard and what shouldn't be heard. The reason why it's really important for me is that I am a spiritual teacher. I've been studied shamanism and spiritual esoteric information for a lot of years. And I do think in the past, if you were a witch or you were a healer, you could be burned at the stake, right? I know that being someone who's on the fringe in my beliefs, I don't believe in Western medicine. I mean, to a certain degree, obviously. I mean, there are some things Western medicine will put you back together if you've been in a car accident. But I don't believe that pharmaceuticals are like the third cause of death, leading cause of death in this country. And so I think that, you might want to think of a different alternative answer for your health, like you're building your immune system, alignment, breath work, spiritual consciousness, meditation, putting your health in your own hands. The minute you think a doctor knows your body more than you have been disempowered. I am on the fringe in my beliefs, and the reason why it's important for me that people aren't censored is because I really do think that I need to hear from people who are awake and who are doing really interesting work in the world. However, the question is David Icke dangerous and should he be censored? And so this is a big question. And what happened was Brian Rose started doing these interviews with David Icke, and he then got censored, and then he started this army against censorship and said he needed his own platform. And then you have this guy whose ego and greed ran away from him, and he said he needed donation for $1 million, but he didn't really use it to create any platform. And there's all sorts of controversy around this now because he's self-help guru who now is the donations and the money, and all of this was kind of an opportunity for his own personal brand to take off. And so he's made like millions of dollars on donations, and now even his army is like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what's happening with this? Being questioned. His fight is around the conspiracy and the censorship. It's a very interesting conversation whether he was a responsible journalist with David Icke. Question the fact. One thing if somebody is spouting a bunch of stuff, and it's another to like really question whether there's any truth to it at all, because David Icke does like to shop. He's on the fringe. I think ultimately David Icke has a message of love and a message of light, but he does a very roundabout way to get there. He was censored and taken down from YouTube and Facebook and everything because they say that it's very dangerous to oppose the COVID-19 belief system that's going on.
So the idea of responsible journalism, was Brian Rose being responsible? Did he challenge David Icke? These are the questions. The reason why he's being censored is because they believe, YouTube and the likes of the collective, that it's dangerous for people to not buy in to the narrative around the coronavirus. Now, this is really interesting to me because we live in a society where there are many, many differing views about health and energy healing and frequency healing and alternative health and alternative healing. And that is not something in the narrative at all about about boosting your immune system, about how some of the pharmaceutical drugs that you might be taking are causing more complications with the virus, things that some of the doctors have come forward about how the intubation is actually making things worse. And the fact is that we need dissenting opinions. If you look back on history, those people who changed the world were the ones that we all thought were insane at first. What do you mean the world is round? And people were hung. Well, how many years of history do we need to learn from this? That dissenting opinions are sometimes the things that we need in order to keep us moving forward and growing. And so we have to be able to listen to things that challenge us, to listen to things that push us forward and make us think. And so this is the encouragement I have around all of the conspiracy theories, around everything we're hearing from the mainstream media, is that no one is right. No one really knows the truth. No, the mainstream media and science and all of the statistics that are coming out are not 100% accurate right now. A lot of the testing is off, a lot of the reports are off, and so there is no one truth right now. There are multiple truths that you need to choose for yourself. You need to choose by looking inside and following your own inner authority. If you don't know what I mean by inner authority, I'm going to put some links below, because I think that right now in history, the most important thing you can do is empower your own uniqueness and empower your own decision-making process. If you are looking to the big brother to make your decisions for you because you're too scared, it's a problem. You've got to empower your own immune system, your own health, your own finances. If you're looking for your company to secure your financial future, you are going to be gravely disappointed, because we need to find our own financial health in alignment with the truth of who we are in a business career that we love and that fully represents your truth. Now, I'm getting a little sidetracked, and I do want to go deeper into them. If you guys want more on the conspiracies, or if you have a conspiracy that I haven't talked about, please put it in the comments below. There are a ton more that I want to get to in this video. I'm going to try and go through them briefly, but I will go deeper into them if I get feedback that it's something you guys are interested in. Interesting conspiracies are about the 5G things. One, they said that the lockdown, they used that as an opportunity to install more 5G towers. Now, I would say that's probably true. A lot of 5G towers were installed during the lockdown, and that could be opportunism. Like they saw, oh, the lockdown's happening, people won't complain, they're too afraid to complain. Why were people complaining? Well, they're complaining because they haven't fully been tested. And that's really the friggin' simplest of the truth. And I'm not saying that I have the truth. I'm just saying that that seems the most obvious to me, is that people were complaining because they don't know what's going to happen. Is the radiation healthy or not healthy? And it hasn't been tested. And are we being vulnerable by putting these towers up? And the point is that the economy of the 5G, they want to move forward and they don't want to deal with these type of questions. So they just went ahead and put them up, from my understanding. And I could be wrong. If you know more, let me know. But the question is, like, did the 5G start the virus or make it worse or create the illness? That's what some people are saying. And, all of the documentation and the study and the science around this hasn't proven to be true. It may come out later. Some people are simply saying that the 5G radiation affects our immune system and we're more vulnerable. I have heard conspiracy theorists saying, well, it started in Wuhan and that's when 5G started. But that's not true. There was a couple of cities in China where it started. It wasn't just Wuhan where it started. So it doesn't totally line up, but I don't know. Let me know what you think below. The other area of conspiracy theories that are going on is the whole pandemic. This has to do with Judy Mikovits. She states that she worked with Fauci and there was a lot of foul play, according to her, in regard to some of the vaccines and the research around the virus. Now, I personally, to be perfectly honest with you, did not watch all of this pandemic, but supposedly, again, it was taken down. And again, this opinion was not heard. So this woman says that all of this stuff was planted and she was unjustly thrown in jail. The other side is saying, no, she's disgruntled. She's a disgruntled employee and she did all these horrible things. And now she's trying to fight back and say she didn't. Well, look, if you look at any court drama, right, you're going to have two sides to a story of someone who says they're innocent or guilty. Then a jury decides. But we listen to all of the facts and we listen to both sides of the story and we listen to what happened and, we look at all of the research and the facts. But when you have big companies and people who are really powerful, some of the facts get hidden. And so I just think that needs to be said. Now, I would love to hear your feelings on the pandemic, what you think. I personally believe that we should not censor when someone's trying to build up their reputation and say that this isn't true, that happened to me. I mean, look at the Central Park Five and how they were coerced into admitting that they were part of this rape and they were in jail and they were falsely accused. Their lives were ruined. And we finally were able to hear their story and allow them to sit in justice. But it took a lot of years. And the thing is, we have to understand that there are people who are falsely accused. We have to be able to hear their story. If their stories are silenced, then we lose our justice system. So I think that that's the problem here, is just that we need to know the facts so we can decide for ourselves, or there can be a jury, and we can figure out what happened here. We are being set up for this widespread mandatory vaccine, and there's an agenda behind this, like we don't get to choose for ourselves, or there's an agenda if it gets pushed and it's not safe. All of these things, this is very real. This needs to be questioned. And we need to make sure that we're aware of the facts. And so the fact that her entire story is being suppressed, that makes me wonder why. That makes me wonder, why can't we find out the facts on this, and really look at it from a logical perspective, like you would any crime. If you follow true crime, that you get to see all the reports, you get to see exactly what happened, then we get to really analyze what went down, and we get to hear her side of the story. And this is really important, people. This is like the person that we're putting all of our health on, this Fauci. Now, another thing that's really interesting, though, is that there's an agenda with the left and the right, and there's an agenda during this pandemic. And the agenda is to make you sway on Trump or against Trump, or on the Democrat side or against the Democrats. And that is dangerous. There's another huge conspiracy around this, which is the whole QAnon, very interesting one that puts Trump as a savior. They are saying that there's a cabal, there's a dark cabal that runs the world, and Trump is the only person who can battle the cabal. And that the cabal is doing the trafficking and the pedophile rings and all of this. And Trump is set up as like to be the most hated, but he's the savior of the planet or the US by taking down the dark cabal. And if you haven't heard this, it's the story of the dark cabal, the dark leaders of the world. Some people were saying the reason why Trump wanted to build the wall was to stop the child trafficking. Now, the reason I have a problem with this is I listen to everything because I want to make my own decisions. I don't want to just blow these people off and say they don't know what they're talking about. They're just conspiracy crazy theorists, because then it goes against the truth of what I believe, which is everybody, you can't judge people. We judge by spiral dynamics, meaning whatever level you're on, you're going to judge the one above you and the one below you as kooks. You think their mystics are woo-woo, because this is an opportunity for everyone to not judge and to be able to view everybody's perspective from a non-judgmental place and listen to what everyone says, and then make your own decisions, and then you evolve, you awaken, you go to your next level, you rise up when you don't judge, and when you let people speak and you have compassion that they're seeing through their lens and through their eyes. And so then you can have compassion from where they're coming from, and then you get to rise up, and then you get to have a higher perspective, which is one that includes everyone and does not make a us or them, does not make a fight, does not make a right or a left, but makes a conscious, loving, compassionate decision based on all that you know, and also based on your own personal spiritual awakening and inner experiences. So I do recommend, if anything from this, watch and hear everyone, make your decisions based on a higher perspective. Comes to this particular theory of the QAnon, if you really research this one, because they say they have insider who's giving them all this information, but what it is, it's right-wing agenda. And the right-wing agenda, like, we know you hate Trump, but Trump is actually a do-gooder. Who doesn't want to believe this, right? Oh, he may be a total idiot, but he's saving all of the children from the pedophile ring of the Democrat. And the Democrat is all the Democrats. Like, I think maybe Hillary and Clinton, being that Bill Clinton was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane all of those times, it's a little fishy. But to then make it a Democrat agenda, there's something very, very, very wrong with that. And that's what this QAnon is. So really ask yourself if you're following all of that, because they said things originally, like they're going to tell you that we need to go in quarantine, and then it's all going to be completely over. And the minute it's all over, then what's going to happen is all of the arrests were going to be made. It's going to start coming out, all of the evil people. And I think even Tom Hanks is on that list of being part of the cabal, which maybe or may not be true. One of the things they talked about was like, go look at Tom Hanks' Instagram to prove it. And I did that. I went to Tom Hanks' Instagram, and it is creepy as F. And he basically, a bunch of people are commenting like, you're a pedophile freak, and he doesn't even erase it. So go look. It's crazy. That part rang true. But the rest of the QAnon stuff, it's a right-wing agenda to make people who might be on the fence about Trump to fall and think Trump's the savior. But who knows? Maybe it's true. There's very few facts. I recently watched a video by David Wilcock. Some of the things he says are true and interesting, but he was saying things like, there's going to be 3 days of darkness and 3 days where your internet isn't going to work, and that's when the arrests are going to happen. When this whole thing went down, they said that the arrests were going to happen they gave a date, April something, all the arrests are going to happen. So the point is that there's nothing checking their facts. So they just keep changing. So if that was really going to happen, and then they say things like, well, don't rush this process. So, the dates may change. Don't rush it. And then people come out with these videos talking about how it's really happening. They don't know how they know, but they heard that all of the children are getting rescued from the pedophile ring and underground, and it's happening. But you're never going to know it because it's not going to go in the mainstream media. You're never going to see it. So it's a weird blind faith type thing. Okay, I would like to have blind faith in that, but I still am not going to believe Trump is like some do-gooder. You may think that, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's the thing. If you want to believe that, then, we all have the right to believe what we want to believe. And if somebody's telling you that you're never going to get the fact, we're never going to be able to totally prove it, well, then you have to somehow within yourself get okay with that. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what to think about the QAnon, but when looking at it from an outside perspective, it appears to me that it's a right-wing agenda to get you to vote for Trump. So that's just my opinion on that. You guys can let me know what you think. Let me know if there's any other conspiracy theories you want to talk about or ones that you want to go deeper into. I kind of just briefly went through the ones that have stuck with me. But I do have to tell you that I find the whole thing incredibly fascinating. And I really do think the most important thing is to get comfortable with the not knowing and to get comfortable with your own inner truth. And I do think there are some science. Okay, look at Wim Hof and the breathing techniques. Look at Joe Dispenza. These people are showing how we're able to heal ourselves. And we can bring the power of our immune system into our own hands. So in other words, it's far more important to be healthy than it is to wash your hands a million times until they're raw. Now, I'm not telling you not to do that. Trust me, please, please, please do not misunderstand me. I'm not telling you not to be concerned about what's going on, okay? But what I'm trying to say is be more concerned about your own inner being and your own inner health. Be more concerned about your fear, your stress, and your immune system. Go watch Wim Hof and do some breathing techniques. Go watch Joe Dispenza and meditate. Go watch our channel and learn about your human design. Empower yourself with tools and techniques to grow, to expand, to feel safe inside yourself. And then you can listen to things with an outside perspective of being able to really hear the opposition with compassion and with love. If we are fighting each other because we can't handle someone having an opposing opinion, there's something very wrong with our stress levels, with our own personal anxiety. So be willing to hear with compassion someone who opposes your beliefs, and be willing to question yourself. Why are you so stuck on a particular belief? What if somebody said there was something else? Look at other people with loving eyes. Look at the U.S. as one people, not a right and a left. The more we can do that, the more we can heal. There is an illness going on in this country and in the world, and it's not just the coronavirus. There's hunger, there's mental illness, there's suicide, there's depression, there's addiction to pharmaceuticals, addiction to drugs in general. There's a lot of pain and suffering on the planet. And there are also a lot of tools for spiritual awakening and for unleashing new insights. And there are tools to navigate the chaos. There are tools to find a peace inside. And so I encourage us to move up above all of the conspiracy theories, listen to them, allow for people to speak, for goodness sakes. If our civil liberty of free speech gets taken away, it's a very scary thing. So the way we can rise above that is for us to be able to listen to opposing arguments without calling them idiots and without putting them down. Do not trust anyone who just starts attacking someone's character. Let's look at facts. Let's remove the emotion and let's rise up together. There is a way through this. There is a way to healing and to peace, and that is inside our own consciousness. Our own consciousness is all we can control. And if we vibrate in the frequency of health and of peace, you would be surprised how much power that has and how much healing power that has on the planet. Right now, we're in a lot of chaos and fear and stress, and that has a negative effect. It causes illness and it causes death. So let's play our personal role in holding a space of love and compassion for the planet, for our own personal role in healing, and spread the wisdom of personal growth and expansion. Your thoughts below. What do you think about all of these conspiracy theories? What is your opinion? Also, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. We really appreciate it. Subscribe to our channel. If you ring the bell, you'll be notified on our lives and on our next videos. Like I said, normally we talk about human design and other topics around spiritual growth, spiritual development, business. But I also love to speak out when I feel called and invited on the topics, which I have been with this one. Stay brilliant, stay gorgeous, and unleash your genius.